I need a new tripod, fam. So, it's your boy Pop Pop. Oh, goodness. Gosh. Man, Raj got me tacos a couple days ago, and they literally shut me down. Literally shut me down. So, goodness. I wish I could find the file, but in any case, something very significant has happened, and people have asked me about it, and that is Tucker Carlson leaving Fox News. And the reason that that is significant is that the uh, the lawsuit by Dominion Voting was such a horrendous blow to Fox News. The settlement, and they settled halfway for half of what the lawsuit was for. So financially, it's hurt Fox. Uh, as far as their reputation goes, it's hurt Fox. Hey Justin, how you doing, man? Yeah, everything is tolerable. Everything is tolerable. And I literally have spent uh, a couple of days going from bed to scooping my legs in the wheelchair, to having prayer, to going back to bed to get my circulation going, and back to the wheelchair for prayer. And man, I prayed for everybody. I prayed for my YouTube family. I prayed for my country. I prayed for my relatives. I prayed for the children. I prayed for my prison peeps, my Watchman River family. I prayed for everybody, you know. But in any case, getting back to the topic, and I want to stay on topic, which is America a single party nation now. And a couple of years ago, when 45 was still in office, they talked about the DEATH of the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party was in such disarray. And the Democratic Party has dealt a lethal blow to Fox and to the way this country will conduct itself from now on, which, like I said, is essentially a single party, uh, like it or leave it, political system. And the reason I knew this was coming was about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, Fox did an article on a Democratic candidate. And it was very flattering. And I said to myself, well, they would never feature a Democratic candidate regardless. So there's change in the air. And I had called their 800 number many times about Tucker's condescending falsetto laugh. And he really became he really became the thing that he had criticized in other people, which was like Hillary's evil laugh, that kind of thing. I gotta switch my weight. I gotta switch my weight. So I could tell the change was in the air. That's a little better. It's hard being bedridden all the time. And I thank those of you that have gone to my YouTube family link on my Amazon link and have helped me out with the bed pads and stuff, because they really make a big difference. And I just recently learned how to send the thank you note. I've always done a thank you on camera, but it's always worried me, especially doing live, because live skips, that everybody would receive their thank you. And believe me, I am grateful. But the death knell was in the air for Fox. And it was in the air for the same reason that, hey, Leanne, how are you? It was in the air for the same reason that Donald Trump, got moved out of office. When you insult people instead of trying to make your point with them, you become like a snowplow that's pushing the snow straight ahead instead of off to the side. You get so much resistance that you can't possibly be an effective person anymore, because you made so many enemies. I tried to reason with Donald Trump about that. I tried to reason with him about that, and I tried to reason with him about taking the NUKES out of Turkey and putting them in Israel when we had a chance for safekeeping, because I said it months ago that the nations that turned against us in WW2 would go soft and turn against us in WW3. And now you have France is joining the BRICS nations, and you have the Pope stumping for the communists. And I remember being close to a century old. I remember a time in America when you would not dare admit in public that you were a communist or an atheist or homosexual or any of that. I remember a time in America when this young man who leaked all of these secrets would have been taken out and executed almost immediately. And if you don't ever think that happened in America, yes, it did. There was a couple, the Rosenbergs or something like that gave the secret of the BOMB to Russia. And they electrocuted both of them. I think it was. So I forgot to disable the assistant on this phone, because if I ask her, it will knock this phone offline. So I'm stuck with just my memory of the past, however accurate or inaccurate it is. But they took this couple and they electrocuted them for telling the secret of the BOMB to the Russians. And see, they did it because they said they wanted to level the playing field for everybody. I don't know about that. So all I know is that after America BOMB'd Japan, that we had a campaign in the 50s that was called Atoms for the World. And they wanted to give away the hey Margot, they wanted to give away, knowledge of nuclear power, supposedly to make energy so cheap that they wouldn't even have to charge people for it. The first of the utopian dreams that people had that were unrealistic. So, in any case, getting back to Tucker Carlson and Fox, I could see this day coming, and pretty much Pop watches nothing but the news. And every so often I'll make a silly video to keep my channel alive. And that's just the way it is when you have a channel on the tube. You gotta keep posting and posting something to keep the channel alive. And that's just part of the deal. So sometimes I'll be in a silly mood and make a silly video, Other times, like today, when it's a big deal for the country, and losing Fox News is because essentially the progressives have shut down any kind of dissension or any kind of debate. And so it's like a football team, like Uncle Joe said, give us 4 more years and we'll get her done. But what are they getting done? That's a big question. You're going to see this country be so different in the years to come. Shortages of food and electricity and everything else. And I'm going to tell you, everything's going to be metered. Everything. And I do mean everything. When you go to wash your face, water, all of that is going to be metered pretty soon. And you should learn things. You should learn things like how to bathe using a little dishpan of water like the Amish do, and a bar of soap, where you start out and you wash the clean parts first of your body and then work your way down to the dirtier parts. And then when the water gets real filthy, you rinse the washcloth out, dump that little bit of water, fill up another little pan with some warm water and rinse yourself. And that's it, to keep clean. None of these showers, where you've got 125 gallons of water literally running while you take a shower. I used to live with my brother, and I used to call his house Hell House because I jumped through every hoop to try and get along. I had just had a horrible accident, and I was at their mercy. And eventually, I paid them some very handsome rent money for my stay at their house. But his wife used to call up the stairs, "Honey, it certainly is more expensive now living here with Uncle Billy." And I hate being called Billy. That's like calling somebody hillbilly or something. And so I used to take a Navy shower, which is where you wet yourself and you soap up and then you turn the water on, you rinse it off. It's not a very pleasant way to shower, and it makes a lot of disgusting sucking noises as you're, running the soap over your body. And it makes these schmucky noises with the soap. And it allows you to shower with only a couple of gallons of water. And then I would dry myself off, and then panic stricken, I would take that damp towel and I would wipe the shower stall so that there was no evidence of me having taken a shower. And then I would unfold the towel and put it on the drying rack, to dry as best as I could get it to dry. And I lived under that unpleasantness for, quite some time until my old boss came and rescued me and got me a company car and a place to stay. My old boss bought me a brand new Ford Focus. And my brother came out and he said, I heard they're not very good cars. And I said, well, it's good enough to get me away from here. But I'll tell you, that was a trial for a long time, where I would sit in the corner of the basement quietly praying for God to help me. And my brother came down one day and he slapped my hands apart as I was having my prayer time, and he said, don't do that in my house. I had to call the bank because I was so ill after the accident. I had to call the bank and tell them to come take the car. I couldn't drive it. I couldn't pay for it. So a voluntary repossession is better than involuntary on your credit. And they know they're going to get the car back in a salvageable condition where they can turn around and resell it. The sun is doing some really wacky stuff today. Yesterday at about 4:30, it was so bright that it felt like I was getting sunburned right through the curtains. I almost thought it was going to set the curtains on fire. It was so bright. And now the light has really dropped all of a sudden. And the weather and everything is just so weird. I'm wondering if it's because of these solar storms and all. But you're going to see now that there's no Fox News to come against this tide of progressiveness. You're going to really see this country change fast, where so many things are outlawed. They're even talking about cutting down rice harvest because they say that when the rice is harvested and they burn the straw that they cover the rice with, that causes air pollution and a problem for climate change. They want to get rid of cattle, rice, cars, air conditioning, fossil fuels, coal. And meanwhile, China, while we're doing all of this, jumping through hoops, China is putting one new coal-fired electrical plant online every month. So our part of the world is getting cleaner, and countries like China and India are getting dirtier, to where people have to wear a respirator just to go outside and breathe. So I saw another thing that made me really sad, and it was Disney. And these little children had gone to the Harry Potter part of Disney, and they went into the wand store and they got a wand. And of course, it's not magic. The wand has got an RFID chip in the end of it. And they go to various parts of the Disney compound and they stand on the star and wave the wand, and it makes a little animatronic, whatever you call it. Hey, Katrina. It makes a little animatronic do its thing. So you're teaching children, you're teaching children about witchcraft. Can't tell them about God or the love of the Lord Jesus Christ or anything like that. But you can soft pedal idolatry and witchcraft to little children. And the Word of God says that if you set a children astray and you take away their childhood innocence, that it would be better for you to tie a stone around your neck and throw yourself into the ocean as far as the eternity that you have waiting for you. So I was really sad to see that. And not only that, but the parents of these children going along with that. That's called letting your children walk through the fire as far as the good Lord is concerned. And those parents will have an awful time in eternity explaining how and why they let their children, have witchcraft soft pedaled to them. Well, the thing about Tucker, like I said, Tucker became the thing that he hated. He made fun of Hillary Clinton's laugh, and then he came up with this condescending falsetto laugh of his own, and it was very off-putting. And it was just like Donald Trump and his calling everybody pigs and all of this other stuff. You get to the point where you've offended so many people that you can't be an effectual leader. And that's where he got to. And they say it's going to be Uncle Joe against 45 all over again. I doubt that very much. It's going to be somebody else against Ron DeSantis, I can tell you. If the Republicans really wanted, well, actually not, Katrina, because you can't give people what they don't want. It's like I said months ago, if our country had to win WW2 all over again, we couldn't. And this young man that leaked all of the secrets proves my point. When people in our society now, when they get a secret, they want to be the first to tell it and say, well, I knew this before anybody else did, therefore I'm a celebrity. It's not that you're a celebrity, it means you're untrustworthy. See, my generation, we knew how to keep a secret. I kept a secret for 11 years about my nephew. I knew that he wasn't my brother's little boy. And the reason I knew that was because his eye color and everything was too different from my brother and his wife. to be my brother's little boy. And the fact of the matter was, the little boy looks like my bowling buddy. And my bowling buddy and I were bowling one evening, and he told me about this waitress he was hooking up. And he said, I've hooked up with this dumb blonde. And I said, wow, that sounds like so-and-so, my sister-in-law. And so I said, tell me about it. Tell me about her. He said, well, she drives this gag green Buick Centurion. And I said to myself, well, so-and-so drives a gag green Buick Centurion. And then he said, and she works at this pizza restaurant, in Glenmont. 3 for 3. And I said, you dirty so-and-so, you are getting with my sister-in-law. So when she had his baby, I didn't want to hurt my brother. I didn't want the baby to be illegitimate. So my brother gave the little boy his name, unknowing that it wasn't his. And I kept the secret for 11 years until it was exposed by my brother's second wife. She came to the same conclusion because she asked my brother, well, what color was your first wife's eyes? And she was a scientist and very brilliant lady, very negative about life, but very brilliant in one sense, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I won't go into that. But she was a scientist, and she looked at my brother's little boy, and she said, there's no way that is your little boy. And then I had to fess up and say, well, the little boy is my bowling buddy's son. And believe me, he's a dead ringer for his daddy. And that hurt the little boy so much. That little boy was devastated to find out that he was illegitimate. And for me, there are no illegitimate children, My brother-in-law, well, the Taco Hell video was a little bit blue and a little bit crude, but it got right to the point because 45 minutes after eating the tacos, I found out that's another thing that has to get taken off the list. No more tacos, no more biscuits and gravy, no more cheeseburgers, and fries, and no more regular coffee, and no more this, and no more that. I mean, golly day. And that wasn't even with the sauce, with the hot sauce. Because Taco Bell doesn't give you any unless you ask for it. They don't give you napkins. They don't give you a fork, They pretty much just dump the stuff in a bag and hand it to you. But God bless man Raj. He went out to Taco Bell, got me the tacos, and he's been there for me. He's been right there for me. He's grumpy sometimes, but he's always been there for me. So I'm blessed. And I like to keep my I'm glad you like the little short videos. They keep the channel alive, in between the live videos. Live videos aren't easy because when you're on a subject and then somebody changes the subject, it's like a domino, where you have a 2 on this side and then somebody will start talking a 6 and the 6 will have a 3 here. And so you go from 3 to 1, that type of thing. And that takes some doing, to have enough background to go from one thing to another. But getting back to my reason for making this video, with no more Fox News. You're going to see Fox News, but Fox News is going to be very much like CNN. It's going to be soft pedaling and regurgitating, stuff that you already know. That's why I get my news from Wihan Gravitas, which is the Indian news media, because they have no reason to sugarcoat anything. I go to Redacted, which is another good, very professional channel. I get my inspiration from Watchman River, Tom's channel. Canadian Prepper, Nate is a very brilliant young man, very articulate, somewhat self-deprecating, which I don't like. He makes comments about he's ugly or he's a dullard and other things, which is absolutely untrue. He's a very brilliant young man. And then Luis Santiago, the Grand Supreme News Channel, and he's got wonderful information, and it's right up to the minute, and he's got a speech impediment. So if you go to his channel, please be polite and don't make fun of him, because he's got a good heart and he's got a lot of good information, even though he doesn't always pronounce things properly. But since we're sitting on the brink of WW3, does that really matter anymore? Does this next election matter? I mean, our country is so far into the... Hey, Karen, I don't think it's going to matter at this point. It's like a trolley car that's going down the hill in San Francisco with no brakes, coming up on an intersection. Everything is so far out of control now that if you gave it to me or anybody else, it's just beyond salvaging at this point. And Lee Iacocca said that years ago, after he saved Chrysler, and they wanted Lee Iacocca to be president. And Lee Iacocca said, no, I can't save America. I saved Chrysler. Can't save America. And it's because people have appetites that aren't good for themselves, and they have appetites that aren't good for the country. You have BLM and you have Antifa. Antifa is flying the flag of anarchy, which is a red and black flag. And see, all of these people, they're more out in the open now. But the red and black flag have always been the colors of anarchy. And they were doing that surreptitiously, like the Illuminati use symbolism. But you can't give people what they don't want. You can't make America great again if you have a large part of the population feels like Barack Obama, when he said that, for one thing, he said America had to be knocked down and put in its place as part of the New World Order. And the other thing that, Obama said a lot of stuff, like he laughed about being a pot-smoking socialist. He was serious about that. He laughed about having a third term with a puppet in the White House. He was serious about that. he laughed about having what's called a red wedding for the Republicans. A red wedding is where you invite your enemies to a wedding with all kinds of delicious food and entertainment. And then you lock the doors on your enemy and you slaughter them because they've come to the wedding without their weapons. So he used all kinds of metaphors to describe what he intended to do to this country. And like the thing with the drones, he said, you'll be walking along and a drone will get you. And he said, you all think I'm kidding. I'm not, you know? Oh, yeah. I mean, I paid very close attention to Barack. And I have to tell you, I voted for Barack at one point because I believed what he said. He said, we're going to take America line by line and we're going to take the most important thing and we're going to fix it. Then we're going to go to the next important thing. We're going to fix it. At that point, he had me as a voter. I didn't know about all of the other things that he had in plan for America. But see, you had George Bush, who was not willing to save the U.S. auto industry. He was for letting the U.S. auto industry just go under. And I worked for Chrysler. And Chrysler was a marvelous company. I worked for a Chrysler Plymouth dealership. I worked for a Dodge dealership. Both were wonderful. The people were wonderful. The cars were great. I mean, they're not the type of car that you buy if you want resale value. But if you wanted a car that you could buy and drive forever and ever, you bought a Chrysler. My alarm's going on warning me to take my heart medicine pretty soon. But before the video, I was in good shape. So let me reset that real quick. Well, they can't make cars like they used to because cars used to be these behemoths. You know, American cars used to be 2 or 3 ton cars and with big steel bumpers and all. Now cars have got a plastic bumper with styrofoam underneath, which is lighter and it actually absorbs the crash better. That's courtesy of the Japanese. And the cars are made with the low hood so that if you strike a pedestrian, it'll roll the person up on the hood of the car without hurting the person too bad. You know, because nowadays people will just walk out in front of a car like a dog. In my day, we were taught look left, look right, look back to the left, and then cross. Nowadays, people are looking at their iPhone, and they'll walk right out in front of a car. You know. Well, I don't really respect any politician. Some of them get into office meaning well, and they end up getting corrupted because of the money and everything. Obama had a plan right from the get-go for this country, and I can tell you they still do. The person that slammed the brakes on Barack Obama was Benjamin Netanyahu, because Obama, being a Shiite Muslim, and he's got the ring. He said he was a Christian, but he's got the ring inscribed. If you focus on that ring, And I love having a high def TV. I have one super high def TV where you can stop the frame and focus in on anything. If you catch an image of Obama's hand, he's got the ring that has the inscription, "There is no God greater but Allah." And see, when people say Allah Akbar, they're not saying God is great, because Muslims and Christians and Jews do not worship the same God. People are being told that. But Muslims do not worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When a Muslim says Allahu Akbar, he's saying Allah is greater. He's saying Allah is greater than the one true and living God. But see, this whole Chrislam thing is a lie that people are being sold, while they're sleepwalking their way into the New World Order, and things are going to change very drastically in the coming months and years. Like I said, now that there's no contradiction with Fox News, you're going to see Fox just doing stuff like other channels, very boring, non-combative stuff. Now that Tucker Carlson is gone, Hannity will be next. Hannity will tone it down. Jesse Waters will tone it down. Greg Gutfeld, he can be as crazy as he wants because nobody takes him seriously. Greg Gutfeld and his blue humor about having people tied up in his basement and all of that. For a little while, people thought that was funny. Now they think that he's just some kind of wacko. So even though it's Gutfeld's show, you see him off to the side. He doesn't even moderate his own show. It's usually Jesse Waters or somebody else, because that kookiness is worn off and people are as tired of Greg Gutfeld as they are of everybody else. But Benjamin Netanyahu is a true patriot to the state of Israel. He fought when he was just a teenager for Israel. His brother got cut down, and Netanyahu is a hardliner, and he knows what Israel is going to be up against. All of these other people, they're like, well, let's give away more and more land until we get to the point where Israel can't be defended anymore because our enemies are so close. Well, the thing about Benjamin Netanyahu was he was set up. Somebody got him some cigars and champagne and gave it to him as a gift. And then they turned around and they said it was a bribe. Same thing as this porn star that said that she had sex with Donald Trump. Nothing could be further from the truth. Donald Trump is a germaphobe. When you see Donald Trump at a meeting and they have a glass of water in front of all of the people at the meeting, I'm very careful to watch things. You watch Donald Trump, he won't drink out of that open glass of water. He drinks out of a closed bottle of water. Okay? He drinks out of a closed bottle of water. He doesn't trust anybody. And he is not going to put his lips on a porn star that's had more ding-dongs in her than a cupcake factory. And And again, this is adult conversation. My live streams are adult, so adult content. It's a family channel, but it's adult at the same time. But Donald Trump is not going to kiss on a lady that's had, other people's various and sundry body parts in her mouth. I'm not going to say anything more than that, because I don't want to get struck. But when I was a kid, when I was 14, I worked in a Esso gas station. And my parents were eggheads. My mother was an Egyptologist. She was very brilliant. And she was working on this thing that was like the Stargate. The Stargate movie could have been written about my mother instead of that other old lady. My mother was trying to decipher this tablet. She was very brilliant. My father was a famous writer. And so, in any case, I lost my train of thought. I wasn't brought up around crudeness or anything. We were allowed to drink coffee, which I did at a very young age. We were allowed to smoke cigarettes. Our breakfast table looked like a cocktail lounge with smoke in the dining room hanging over the breakfast. If you cursed, my father would beat you to death. If you drank, my father would beat you to death. And he almost beat me to death at age 11, punched me in the face and threw me down the stairs and stood over top of me and beat me like we were in a bar fight, almost killed me. He went upstairs, he had to have oxygen. He was so worn out from beating me. So at 14, I went to work full time at an Esso gas station. I went to school half a day till 12 noon. The school gave me credit for life experience and gave me a diploma and let me go with the graduation class, even though they were people I didn't even know or see. I worked in an Esso gas station where the men were digging their crotch and scratching their butt and picking their nose and coughing up spit and cursing and burping and all of this other nasty stuff. I wasn't used to all of that. And so one night they got a hooker from Frederick, and the girl charged $10, and she had a 67 Ford Fairlane station wagon with pillows and a blanket in the back for her men folk. And so Donald Trump he took palsy pictures with women. He didn't kiss on women. And he did like other men, slapped them on the butt and all of that stuff, which was machismo back then. They considered that machismo. And the locker room talk and all of that. We all know that is BS. It's like the stuff with Jim Baker and PTL. Jim Baker did a circle jerk with some other nerds in a sauna, and they accused him of being a homosexual. And then they said that Jim Baker got with that girl. You look at Jim Baker's fingers; they're the fingers of a mongoloid. His fingers are like an inch long, inch and a half fingers, and that's indicative of a man's manhood. That's why they make fun of Donald Trump's hands being small. There is no way when that girl said that Jim Baker threw her down and RAPED'd her. That didn't happen. She was there to give him a back rub. I gotta go. There's somebody at the door.